when you're challenged and you don't have a response for it, it just discredits everything that you do.
Thanks, Littles.
No PR is bad PR, okay? Cool. Yo, we are live. This is so cool. This set is coming together-ish.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah,
I think we need some plants.
we'll get some plants. Well, hello, friends. Welcome back for another episode of Two Kids and a Startup. My name is Wilson.
I'm Cass.
And this is a podcast about how we're working together, the projects that we're working on, the startup, while raising two beautiful kids and trying to live a life of our own design. That's what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Last week, we had a big celebration of Cass winning her pitch competition. Yay! That was really fun. I think it was a short-lived celebration as we turned the corner.
That's hard.
What's hard?
Because we always just have so much to do. The celebrations, I think we can do a better job at celebrating more and soaking it in with everything, because we do so much. We have like this project, we've got 5 different projects going on at the same time, and once we kick it off and we get all these exciting metrics and numbers, we definitely want to remember to just
live a little,
celebrate. And yeah. I'm sure that goes to everybody as well.
Yeah, I think it's so important as we continue to progress to not forget to stop a bit and smell the roses. Yeah. Well, no time to smell roses right now. Because we are about to launch our VIP event.
Yes.
For the same project, which is the TheFunPass.
It's launching today. Yes. We go from podcast to our VIP event.
Yeah. This is going to be a really interesting one because people are actually flying in for this from all over the world. And this includes our partners, our vendors, our investors, potential investors, and community members. And we're basically creating this entire experience for them to walk through and experience the TheFunPass in the most exciting and fun way that I can think of. I think it'll be really fun. With the TheFunPass, it is a loyalty platform for events. So in essence, we want to uplift people's experiences. And so what better way to let our potential investors and partners know that than for them to feel it and experience it themselves. So that's the reason why we actually closed off our entire carnival for the first 2 hours and dedicating that time and space for our VIP guests to come and experience all the carnival games for free. So basically they're coming in, getting escorted by ambassadors, and they are on a mission. The mission to save Jojo, which is our beautiful Littles, and which is a character that we've created, but that's yeah. And and yeah, so when people are coming through the doors, they get to be able to play all the carnival games completely for free. A big childhood dream that I've always had is to go to play carnival games for free, unlimited. I think that is like super cool. And along the way, our guests would be able to collect rewards for playing, and we call these rewards stars. And as you continue to accumulate these stars, you get to be able to see on your dashboard, this is a web-based application, no downloads needed, and you see these stars start to accumulate and rack up points. And when you hit a certain number, you get to redeem for prizes and whatnot, very similar to like a Chuck E. Cheese type of environment. And so after which they get to redeem for their merch and go through this 1,000 square feet immersive experience that we have painfully put together and we'll dive into that right after this. But it was very painful to put that thing together. Nonetheless, after that, we're gonna serve them some food, refreshment, let them mingle, and to be able to actually share with them why we did what we do, or why we hosting this entire event.
I'm excited.
um
Nervous.
I'm nervous because throwing an event is always, there's just so many little parts, and really the details is what really matters. And when you can actually focus on the details and actually execute on the details is what gives people that experience and that emotion. When they leave, they're like, wow, this is really cool, wow, this is amazing. And being in the industry for the last 10 years, like, doesn't get it does get easier, but at the same time, event day is always a gong show because things usually go wrong. So that's that piece. And aside from being able to demo what we have built, it is really for us to, as a way for us to walk the talk. Yeah, we've been preaching about how great this application and this platform is. Actually, speaking of which, why don't we share some stats about this platform in the first 3 weeks of launching? Pretty impressive.
So I think within the first 3 weeks, we've had over 5,320 users. And what we've noticed week over week is we've seen a 22% growth with over 41,000 transactions on the blockchain, which we've been very excited to share that we've been consistently holding the number one spot on generating the most on-chain transactions for the last 3 to 4 weeks um, on Near's protocol that we've built this app on.
And to actually elaborate a little bit about transactions are basically micro move micro events that are happening within the platform. So when people redeem something, when people collect more stars, when they complete a mission, these are all counted as transactions, right? So we get to be able to see how these people interact with the platform. And for me personally, the most surprising stat that was able to showcase right away, which I never really expected, is the increase in revenue. We have seen an increase in revenue by more than 12.5%. Now, 12.5%, it's just a number, but if we were to put a fiat number beside that, that's a 5-figure increase in revenue as a direct result of the platform. And that's super exciting. That's just within 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
That means that there's a huge tangible result as a result of people utilizing this platform that we've built.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that
I
is
think
crazy.
it's also important to note, like us seeing that increase in revenue was us launching this product as a MVP. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was the minimum viable product that we could release, and it is ways to go from what we vision. So with something
Mm-hmm.
that is so small that has such a big impact on businesses, which is why we want to showcase this and leads to why we want to put out this VIP event in the first place.
Yeah, yeah. Like to actually be able to not just, numbers are numbers, and
Numbers are important.
numbers.
That's what they're looking for.
They as in investors, right? So I
Hmm.
like, it's it is very important because it shows that there's product market fit. It shows that there are early signs that whatever platform, whatever product that we're creating actually does work in the real life, and not just like fictitious and whatnot. And yeah, and to ensure that we were actually, another thing that was very impressive is the number of sample size that we gathered these facts from. We actually did collected these stats through a sample size of more than 1,600 people. That's actually a really big sample size to have this number, right?
Hmm. Yeah, we were able to kind of leverage, thank goodness for your on-site team,
Yeah.
because we were then able to leverage it. And I think when releasing a product, especially if it wasn't with a client or a partner that we could have as much control in,
Mm, mm,
we wouldn't
mm.
be able to pivot, adjust, whether that was from the offer to the value prop to even just the copy and the marketing to gain the most traction and impact. If we didn't
Mm-hmm.
have that, we wouldn't be able to have the numbers and have that be so successful within a 3 weekend trial run.
Yeah, yeah. It's huge. Big shout out to Jaden, big shout out to Tony for leading the team of like over 100 to actually execute this. And I think that what you said was really important is for us to have the team to execute this vertically, you know, from product to actually execution is so important. And we've gone through just in a matter of 3 weeks dozens of iterations of the application and platform. The onboarding was something that was really insightful too, is because just showing different positioning of a button or whether or not the screen pops up or not really affects the conversion rate, whether people would drop off, whether people find it too confusing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The amount of meetings and conversations we've had about where people should sign up and when, and even as simple as making sure that you have a single sign on turned on
Mm-hmm.
improves the amount of conversions. So as simple as a user, as simple as it is, there's just so much intention in
Mm.
building an app on the user experience to
Mm-hmm.
conversion. It is a situation.
And in our case, it is a beautiful situation
Mhm.
that we were able to get these really impressive stats. And
Yeah.
that's the reason why some of our partners decided to fly out and to really experience it for themselves, to be
Yeah.
one of our biggest cheerleaders.
I'm so excited to see what comes out of it because, I think if we can showcase this well, this could
Mm.
lead to more events for the
Hmm.
Fun Pass.
Totally. And that is exactly why we're hosting the VIP event, is because we wanted to have people experience it firsthand and not just what we say, not just what our customers, visitors are saying, but more so the people that are putting in potential investments, partners that are supporting us, doing referrals and events that we would potentially be hosting at, which is coming up in November, fingers crossed,
Yep.
in Portugal.
Hmm.
That's going to be a really interesting
Oh my
event.
God, the only thing I can think about is childcare. Or maybe not childcare. Maybe they fly too. That's another question for another day.
Ooh, yes, another
Life as
question.
parents.
Oh my goodness, it's difficult. As exciting as it is, it is difficult.
Hmm.
Now, a big part of this is fundraising, right? Setting us up for when we are going to go back out into the marketplace to fundraise, to build this app, and to expand to many more different events. And so while I've been putting my head down dealing with this entire VIP event, Cass has also been working on your fundraising
Ugh,
deck
you
and
would think that
projection.
it'd be done by now, but it just doesn't end. So we have a goal. We have a goal to start fundraising officially effective September, second week
Mhm.
of September, because right now it's holidays and back to school. Who's available? Nobody. So our goal, if we are to start to embark on this journey, is make sure we have everything ready by then. And one thing that we really didn't finalize because it could be sliced in so many different ways is the revenue projections and how we're going to scale this business from year 1 to year 5. And it's hard because do you want to build this revenue based on where we want to go, or where we were at. And so it was like a constant conversation between me and Wilson on how these numbers should be reflected.
You know what? Let's just be honest with our friends. It's just like, how are you gonna make sense of the whole story? And it's like, yes, a lot of times when it comes down to projection, it really is a story that you make up. It's like what you see in the next 5 years. It really is what it is.
This is the two competing. I agree.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to make sure you see that. But I also want to, for me, I'm like, how can we stand up these numbers? Like
100%.
where, like,
100%.
let's research each piece on how these numbers could actually be stood up if somebody was to pull it apart and be like, well, how did you get these absurd numbers? Well, let me tell you. That's otherwise, I felt that, I think, the first time. Okay, so should we share what happened?
100%.
So Wilson sparked a random meeting on me last week, and he's like, why don't you share the projection numbers, in the middle of me building it? So I wasn't fully prepared. But anyway, so I was kind of putting in some numbers, and then I got brutalized by one of our advisors.
Yeah.
And not because there wasn't any truth, but it was more so about peeling it apart and make sure it was good, so that it's exciting enough for investment, but also it has a story and a reason to get there.
So as an example, like if we were to implement the TheFunPass at any type of event, how much can we charge the event organizer for this activation? And then so how we can stand that up is we need to do market research to see what other loyalty platforms are charging. And so then that way we can take the median price, and we know that the market is already accepting this, therefore we can charge the same price to expect the same results. And so that's kind of how we need to make sure that we slice these numbers back and forth to ensure that it is logical, right? And that's kind of where Cass is coming from. Whereas in my point of view, we need to think bigger. We need to be like $100 million in the next 5 years, because that's the type of returns that venture capitalists would be expecting for any startups that they are investing into. So
this is the difference between someone who is vision and someone who's like, okay, let's get this done. How that like this is literally the gap, like totally. No, not that gap, but how we work is so different.
The difference in perspective,
yes.
Perspective, yeah. Like, and not to say that, not to say that Cask doesn't see the necessity of a projection to hit 100 million. Not to say that I'm not grounded in like thinking like, oh, what needs to happen in order for us to reach that? But we need to start from.
It was actually the mirror of the two. In your way, you're like, nope, I need to hit this number. And in my way, I'm like, how are we getting to this number? That's kind of how we work together on this.
Exactly.
You were just throwing out a number. No, I'm just kidding.
No, and then there's also like different revenue streams that we can dig into and explore. So from sponsorship to advertisements to subscription fees to data licensing, white labeling. There's just so many different avenues, and we just need to be thinking out there more in the next 5 years. What can we monetize and how can we monetize that? And these are all just really fun ways for us to go through this, and seeing you do that in the last week has been fun because
because you were doing it on the airplane the last time.
No, I was doing it in Hawaii last time, and I was pulling my hair out, and that was not fun time. That was not fun time. It's always very difficult. It's not difficult. It's just making sure that your numbers can be challenged and you can have a thoughtful response to it, because when you're challenged and you don't have a response for it, it just discredits everything that you do. It doesn't matter how accurate 99% of your projection is. If there's one crack, the whole thing is in shambles. So
Yeah.
super important. Yeah. Difficult, but you know what? We're close. Now, speaking of difficulty, I was just, man, this is a big rant that I want to go on.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Like this entire event has been difficulty as after difficulties. Stuff that,
As event planning always has,
oh,
because there's so many different parties involved, there's so many different tasks to be done. You just can't, the more bigger the event is, the higher the amount of
things,
problems can
yeah,
come up. As
totally.
you know, you should
Yeah.
just expect this variable popping in.
Well, I expect it, and so I'm like, I get it, but we're hosting an event for what, 24 people of the VIPs. And on site on day of, we have 40 people serving these 24 people. 40 of our
To
staff.
40 people.
Yeah. On site we have what, 30? And then there's us, and then there's also our like Vichan, Jen, the office team, like planning the entire thing, just and then the videographers.
Mm.
Yeah, there's 40 people.
Wait, I think you should back up around when you even started thinking about this event. Then you can really share what's happened and the problems. Because we started talking about this VIP event when we were still in Hawaii.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was really important for us to showcase what we're building. And
That was in March, by the way,
holy,
March or
wow.
April.
Yeah, it's been a while working on this event, but yeah, just thinking about it, it was really important for us to be able to host an event to let people experience it, because seeing and feeling is just completely different, and it's always a exponential effect, right? So it's super important for us, and on top of that, it's really great content, great marketing piece for us to show other investors like, hey, this is what's happening, and it's a really great content piece. um, One big hassle or problem that we've experienced is the port strike in BC. That was unexpected. When July 1st was when the entire port went on strike, and basically all the shipments and vessels that are coming into BC has just been hanging out in the Pacific. 40, 50 different vessels, and each one of these vessels have thousands of containers on them, and we're talking about billions of dollars of goods being held hostage by these union members, you know. So that completely delayed our shipment. And within our shipment are these custom designed plushies that you see right here. Not only that, it has our entire load of inventory for our merch. It also has our prints. Now, speaking of prints, prints alone was more than $10,000. So it's like, it's crazy. And these prints are what we're addressing that 1,000 square feet immersive experience in, right? So with these die cuts, with these pop-ups, with basically an immersive experience of you walking into a wonderland type of experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you were
Mhm.
stressed
Oh,
because
yeah.
originally the port, when you first mentioned it to me, you said that the port strike would delay our shipments until mid-September.
Yeah, yeah.
This was in June,
That
July.
was in July.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it was just nuts, and just talking and coordinating with our forwarder every single day, because the union member decides to go on strike and they settle, and the night of they go back on strike, and 2 days later they're back to work, and just ongoing back and forth. um I rather know what's happening, as in like, yo, you're not gonna get your shipment, let's do plan B. Or yes, you're gonna get your shipment, let's go ahead with it. And which is the reason why we haven't settled on a date for the longest time, because we couldn't, right? Unless we know what's happening. So just scrambling away. And since we heard of the since we actually got the final okay, luckily enough, The shipment arrived earlier in August, so we're like, okay, you know what, set the date, which is great. We built the entire experience, which was amazing. It looks so good. Um, and the team was really, really proud of it. They spent like a whole week building out this entire frame.
And
Uh,
when you say build out, I don't know if people understand. They're literally measuring carpentry, physically building the construction site.
yeah,
So you're not just thinking, we're not hiring other people to do it. Your team is
yeah.
doing the measurements, the design, the layout,
Uh,
and
just
putting all that together.
for context, like the material that it took to build out the experience in this like house, it's not even a house, cost more than $5,000
Hmm.
just for the wood. So it gives you a perspective of like the framing that was required to build out this experience. And after we built out the framing, we had the prints come that we can install onto the frame. And then we also have these pop-ups that extends from the walls to give it this 3D effect. And then we have all these lightings that we have shining on it. And when people are walking through, they were like, whoa, this is so cool. We have music, we have a 72-inch TV, we have a slide where merch would be falling out of it. And we have this entire timeline of our basically our experience building this for the last 2 years. So it was really, really cool. Um, and then last week was when I got the bad news. um, because we have been building so much and because we put in so much effort and that's such a great job, we attracted some inspection and city inspection to come through the doors. And they're like, you know what? This is no go. You need permits for this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I should have known.
Oh my gosh, the funniest story. He comes back to me and he goes, okay, so this sucks, but it makes sense because the area where we're building it, if something was to happen and something, let's say like a fire or something fell, the
Windstorm.
the the power line that it was built around powers the Vancouver airport.
So, for example, if the tent blew up and the wooden structure flies out, hits the power line, and power line goes out, the entire airport would be lights out.
Thanks, littles.
Hey, no PR is bad PR, okay? Yeah, we're in a very like critical spot. And so yeah, we actually had to disassemble the entire thing.
Yeah. And it
Yeah,
was tough.
it was
I
very tough.
remember
Yeah.
it was tough on the morale. It was tough on the team because they felt like it wasn't really fair on their end. Not fair because I think they received, I guess, just a hard
It just
truth.
sucks. It's just sucks, man. Like, like a lot of these work is very tedious. Right? Like, so for just as an example, built we actually had a roof that we built to make it contained, and the roof is of clouds. We wanted to make an effect of this whimsical experience, so we want people to walk through clouds, and so each one of we needed to actually manually patch each one of the holes with cotton, and enough cotton so then that way it sticks. So literally we have like 6 guys just putting up cotton for the entire 1,000 square feet. And to get news, and that's just one of the jobs that is required to create this experience, let alone the dozens of other jobs and parts. And so yeah, it was bad on morale, and we let that off for a few days. We took apart the whole thing, started from scratch, and found a resolution to it, and got the okay as of 2 days ago. that these are good. So instead of having wooden structure, we just put in fences that are mobile and that are anchored to the ground, and clamped to the tents and whatnot to make it as secured as possible. And we're on the way to creating an amazing experience. Yeah, yeah. And so that was the difficulty, morale
Yeah.
buster. Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to share about the team and the impact on the team it made and what you did to kind of help alleviate that.
Right.
Because I think this can happen in a lot of work situations where
Mm,
you put in a lot of effort to build something and your work doesn't get to shine,
yeah. Yeah.
and it had a really big impact on the team's morale to a point where they got extremely frustrated.
And even if the frustration is not directed at you, it still sucks. And thank you for talking me through this as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so what I ended up doing is I went to site as well to basically help tear down the entire thing. And I think that was a very important gesture to show that we're in it together. And I think it's, you know what, I haven't done that for a couple of years now. Ever since Jordy was born, I've been more on the back end and just kind of like advising them what to do. And yeah, just forgot about it.
It was really powerful, I think,
Yeah.
because for you to make time out of your,
Crazy life.
weekends
Yeah.
with the family to roll up your sleeves, and
Hmm.
when it gets tough, to show that you are willing to help, and
Yeah.
especially during such a downtime, I think that really helped recharge the team's energy to then do it again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember when I was younger, when we first started out, that's what I did all summer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Build.
just build, just
Yeah.
being there like 16-hour days, going waking up at 9, driving there, work until 10, 12 at night, same thing over and over again for months
Yeah,
for setup.
totally.
Those crazy times. Um, and after we took it down, we had a team dinner,
Mm,
which was a lot of fun. I
mm-hmm.
had a lot of fun. I had a lot
Mm-hmm.
of fun. Just non-stop free flow shots for the kids. Mind you, everyone's of age. Um, we had like what, 20 of our guys there. And it was just nice to just not be like doing work
Mm-hmm.
and just hang out and that, oh, you know what? Wilson drinks too? Hell yeah, I do.
It's a
Right.
good pick me up.
Yeah, so it was nice. It was nice. Everyone had a lot of fun. It was great to actually bond together, right? And I guess because I'm not on site as much now,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to build that personal relationship and have that communication to let them know that, yo, I'm still here,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so those were the two really big gestures that really kind of got the morale back up in a very fast way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just needed to see you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was thank you. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
for sharing with me. Because you know what? One of the things I hate the most is like people conflict.
Yeah, you're not good with people conflict. You
No.
just like to sit in it.
I dwell in it. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
you
this
dwell in it.
sucks. Like, I don't like dealing with people issues, but that's kind of like a big part of my job. Like, I take it so personally, and I'm so like sad when these things happen. And I'm like, oh man. But hey, you know what? Now everyone's morale's back up and everyone's excited for this launch
Yep.
that's happening today. Yeah, this just event setup alone takes a lot. And when we talk about like the details, right? I think that's really what makes the entire experience like a wowing experience, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to touch on some of the little things that we were doing, from preparing our speech to address our VIPs, to the name tags, to the VIP list, to having actually ambassadors to take care of our guests in different smaller groups. So then that way everyone can cycle through different games, to the whole entire itinerary down to the minute, the rundown of event, communication within all the parties, our managers, supervisors, us, videographers, the food catering, and videographer, and our private dinner that we're hosting. Like all these little things need to like kind of like play out accordingly in order for us to have a major successful event. It's very much like planning for a wedding.
It is, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why we had to scramble to make sure everything is done before summer ends. So then that way, when September rolls around, we can focus on fundraising.
Fundraising and back to school.
And back to school. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of school, we need to start finding a school for Jordy.
Yeah, but that can go on later after this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's actually really cool to see Jordy idolizing Seb like a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why don't you share about that Seb's competition?
Sure. So this weekend we also, my nephew is a jujitsu star in the making. He's like 10 years old, and he's built a bit of a following from his art of jujitsu.
Yeah.
And it's weird because at first, when my brother tells me that he is doing good and everybody is obsessed with his work, I'm thinking, oh yeah, you're just a dad, sure, yes, I know your son is great. But then he started bringing home golds, like the amount of medals he's had in the competitions, it's pretty impressive. And now he's actually building this into his passion or his dream, which is really cool to see. And so it's great because as much as he has his jujitsu on his side, he also has this really soft, nurturing side of him. And as a 10-year-old, I remember every 10-year-old, they wouldn't care less or even want to play with a little kid. But to see Seb always nurture and care for Jordy and even Westy at this age, it's really beautiful to, I don't know many little kids' soul who has that attention to want to care for someone so much younger than them or play with them.
Totally. And when you talk about, like, just to give people a perspective of like how good he is, he's one of the top in BC Canada for sure. 55 golds. Just like that doesn't even make sense to me. I'm like, how the hell do you have 55 golds? And on top of that, the competition that we just got to witness, 7 submission out of 7 matches.
Yeah.
He's literally like collecting arms, like armbar, flying armbar, quadruple armbar, somersault armbar. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, and this kid is like a demon child when he's on the mat. And I'm like, wow, you're so good.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see Jordy actually learn from Sebi too. It's like, don't give up, don't give up.
Yeah.
And I'm
Jordy's cheering for him. And it's kind of cute because they're just 10 years old and you kind of forget, like, they're so serious and competing, and it's quite aggressive, at least from what I see. Yeah. But then in those moments after they I guess compete, all the kids are walking off crying. And you kind of forget that they're actually just children. And even with Seb, he just wants to go back to playing Roblox or coloring and playing with Jordy, and you kind of forget that he's actually this superstar.
It just melts my heart, like what you were saying, when he was just being the most badass kid that I know. I'm like, whoa, that's so cool. And then the next day we bring him out to eat pancakes. And he's like,
confetti, whipped cream, syrup.
Can I have like a coloring sheet too on my kid's menu? And he's just coloring away and like folding airplanes. And I'm like, who is this kid?
Mm-hmm.
It's so
It's a
cool to
very
see.
sweet.
Yeah, yeah. So I think like I was so impressed, and so after that, this week when I also went to train with him, when I was training Muay Thai, I'm in a room full of what, like 20, 30 grown ass alpha male just training.
Mm-hmm.
And when Seb walked in, the instructor gave a standing ovation to Seb, acknowledging him winning the competition. And I can see in everyone's eyes that they're like, holy crap, this kid is crazy winning
Mm.
at. And by the way, this competition that he's in, just because it's like 7 submission out of 7, it's not like some small competition. Like people actually fly in town to compete in this. It's like a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
ADCC, I think.
there you go. Yeah, there you go. ADCCA, yeah. And so I was like proud to be his uncle.
Yeah,
Like I'm
yeah.
like, damn, that's my nephew.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
he's a very humble
super.
little one.
He actually went up to the instructor. He's like, it's actually 6 submissions because the other kid didn't show up. Just to correct, just to set the record straight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited for him to see him just rise up. And he's just in LA right now. Next week, flying to Vegas and just competing his and chasing after his dream. Super
Mm-hmm.
inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Big shout out, Sebi and Chris. Yeah. So I think for us, we're gonna put Westy into jiu-jitsu too.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. It is quite a beautiful
Intellectual sport.
sport in the community that I've seen. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I'm open to it.
Yeah. And I'm excited. I'm excited because when we put Westy in it, I'm gonna learn it as
Oh
well.
gosh.
Yeah.
He's gonna be collecting my arm.
For sure.
If
For
only
sure.
you knew that I'm a natural.
Yeah. So, well, you know what? We got to get back to this VIP event of ours. We'll keep you guys posted. And as always, make sure you guys like, subscribe. Let us know in the comments how you would, what you feel about this episode, how we can improve. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this week.
Thank you. See you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.